Welcome back to the Square State Sandlot podcast. Got Kyle joining me. I'm your host, Bill, and we have plenty to talk about. There's some Wyoming Cowboys basketball news, some NFL news trades, coaching retirement surprise, Dan Snyder possibly getting forced out, and much more. So we'll hop right into it. Kyle, what did you think about the Jeff Linder extension for Wyoming basketball?
I guess for me, this is one of them positive moments for us. Obviously, he's been able to do so far with the men's basketball team has been amazing. I hope he can build off of it. With everything, just Wyoming sports in general that we've dealt with, transfer portal and things like that. Like, this is just one of those wins, I guess, that I think, any fan of Wyoming sports was looking for, I guess. I don't know. I'm just really impressed with what he's done so far. I think he is squeezing everything that he can out of his squad, and I think he'll continue to do it, and hopefully he builds on it, and it's a good handful of years.
Yeah, I mean, they extended him through 2027. Obviously, if he continues to improve this program and get the most out of these guys, there's a good chance that there will be a buyout at some point and him going to a larger program. But this at least tells his players he's committed to the program. He wants to be here, at least for the short term, and helps him in recruiting and all that stuff. So I think it's a huge win for the Wyoming basketball program and will keep us at the top of the conference for as long as he's there. So absolutely excited for that. And I'm sure it pays him quite well. So good for him, good for the program. Anything else you wanted to say about Wyoming before we move on to?
No, I think we have a lot to talk about NFL wise, so it's probably good to jump over.
There's always tons to talk about with the NFL.
This time of season, man, or this time of year.
It's taken over, we're ramping up for baseball and everything, and we're still talking about NFL every day.
It's true. Well, and I mean, to start us off, it's like we were talking on the last podcast that the amount of talent that's still available in the free agent market is ridiculous. One of those names, obviously off the top of that list, was Bobby Wagner. We've obviously both talked about him a lot and how, we both think highly of him. And all he did was verify what we've already discussed. I knew that, and you said the same thing, that going in division was going to be a big part of that. And his interview was crystal clear, let's just say. But I'm super pumped for him. I mean, they're obviously a good team, winning the Super Bowl last year. So he's ultimately going to be obviously different position, but he's going to be stepping in where, now I'm blanking.
Vaughn, probably.
Thank you, Von Miller. Yeah. He's that other impactful player in the first two lines of the defense. So I expect big things out of him. He's obviously a stud, and even at his prime age or at his old age, he is. I would take him over probably 75% of the other linebackers, if not more, in the league. So
yep.
I'm happy for him, and I think it's going to be a good marriage between the two, and time will tell, but I think it's a good deal.
Yeah, and just like last year when they picked up Vaughn, I mean, it's going to be one of those things where you're basically getting some more out of an older player where they don't have to be, the focal point of the defense. He's just going to be able to do what he knows how to do, and Bobby Wagner is still a great player in this league. So putting him on a team with Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey and the bevy of other talented defensive players is going to be something to see. And I can't wait to see what he does against the Seahawks when they're down, because it's going to be it's going to be a revenge game for those two games at least. So,
and rightfully so. I mean, that was not the ceremonious exit that a player that gave you 10 years should get. So I'm Team Bobby right now.
Years. I mean, that guy was a stud from day one. And I think the thing that everyone, when they saw the signing, kind of jumped out at was, it's a 5-year deal. So that would take him till he's 37. But in all
Yeah.
reality, it's basically a 2-year deal with the opt-outs that are included.
It's just like Vaughn's deal. It's not like it's meant to play out.
And I think the base value of it's like 2 years, 16.5 million or something like that. So it's basically 8.5 million or so per year with incentives that he could hit to bring it up much higher than that. But
Definitely.
good for him. Glad to see. And the thing I like about Bobby Wagner the most is obviously he's a great player, but he's also a brilliant guy, and he negotiates his own contract. So good to see him do that, not have to pay that agent fee. And he did say, when he's done playing, he'd love to be in a front office because he has a business background and all that.
He
So
would do well.
Excited to see where his career takes him afterwards. Obviously, see what he does with the Rams first. But the big news that we probably need to talk about, well, there's several big things, but the first one is that obviously Tom Brady came back. He announced he's coming out of retirement. But when that was announced, both you and I said, wonder what's going to happen, because it seemed like behind the scenes, Tom was trying to either force a trade from the Bucks, and then Arians publicly went out there and said, yeah, I'll trade him for 5 first-round picks, and basically said if he's playing next year, it's going to be for us. So at that point, I was like, I wonder where this is going to go. And I think we finally found out where that was going to go. And Bruce Arians is now headed up to the front office in they're calling it a senior football consultant role. So what that actually ends up being, I don't know. But the good news coming out of that is Todd Bowles gets his second shot to be a head coach. So I am excited about that. What's your take on this whole situation?
First and foremost, I've never seen a situation like this where it was player, team, and coach. All 3 layers of it feed bigger lines of bullshit and just expect everybody to take it at face value. Yeah. It's insane to me, some of the statements they made, and it was just like we're all supposed to be like, oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, outside of that, Bruce Arians did the legacy speech that, Tom Brady coming back was what prompted him to be willing to pass it on to Bowles, because he didn't want him to inherit, without a team without a quarterback at the helm, which, that sounds all good and well, but the fact that Tom Brady knew he was stepping down before he came on kind of contradicts that statement a little bit.
Yep.
I don't know, man. This is just, we've always talked how we're in the, the players' corner and things like that, but this is where some of that stuff starts to bother me, is when one player, I'm not saying that it's Tom Brady said get rid of Bruce Arians. I'm not saying that's what happened, but you're starting to see more and more of this. It's kind of been more common with like NBA teams.
Yep.
But this player-driven, we're going to start making decisions. Even the Aaron Rodgers thing, I get where he's coming from, that he wanted to be involved with decisions. But at the end of the day, I don't know. It's a weird trend. I don't know if I like it or hate it, or it's just very weird.
I think there's very few players that can really control their destiny. So when they can, you definitely see them flex that. And Tom Brady is definitely one of those players. Right, he's won enough in this league that I think he probably has the belt, so to speak, to say, this is what I want. And I think we knew a lot of this was coming when he announced he was coming back. Right before he announced he was coming back, he met with the owner of the Bucks at that soccer match where he was talking to Cristiano Ronaldo, and Cristiano Ronaldo said, are you really done? And he went, maybe. But yeah, and then I think 2 hours after that meeting, he basically announced that he was coming back. So I think something was said in that meeting to the effect of, hey, we'll take care of Bruce. Don't worry about it. If you want to come back, we'll make room for you. And like I said, I'm super happy for Todd Bowles, because he did not
Big
get a
time.
fair shake in New York. He did not at all. I mean, he inherited a team that was obviously bad. That's why they got rid of their coach before him. He never had a quarterback. His defense was always great, but not good enough to keep them in games with no quarterback. He had Sam Darnold. I can't remember. Ryan Fitzpatrick, I think, was in there with him for a season. It was just a revolving door there. And the Jets haven't been good since Rex Ryan left. So
it's been a long time.
I mean, that's been quite a while. Mark Sanchez was still their quarterback. So it's, not a great situation. This is a much better situation for him. You've got an established offensive coordinator. You've got a Hall of Fame quarterback. And then he has that defense in place already. So he's going to be in a great situation where he can let Leftwich handle the offense. He can have some hands-on for the defense, but he's going to ultimately be that guy that answers for the roster and all that fun stuff. So it's a great organization to take over. Obviously, they're in contention for the Super Bowl, assuming the NFC landscape stays as it is.
Who knows?
Not much competition there. So
I want to go to the NFC.
Yeah. I think there's a good chance to win in the NFC. You got Aaron Rodgers, and then you have Tom Brady, and then it's like a big gap between everyone else. So pretty good situation for him. Anything else about that situation you want to talk about?
I just made a note of it, and it does also speak volumes when you – and I don't know how much, is backing it up, but the talk of Arians missing meetings and then obviously – stepping in game time when Leftwich and Brady had built these game plans. If that is true, that's a very disruptive move from a head coach. You obviously have Leftwich there to do a job and Brady's there to do a job. And ultimately you're there to manage, not micromanage. So if that is the case, I mean, they're probably better off, honestly.
Well, and that was the rumblings we talked about at the end of the season. This is what, was being reported. And we said, well, that doesn't sound like a good thing if you want to keep a team together. So it was, that's why even at the end of the last season, we were wondering if either Arians would be gone or Brady would be gone. So
absolutely.
Okay. So there was another wide receiver trade, not quite the Devontae Adams, but Devontae Parker got traded within the division. So Miami shipped him out to the Pats. This reminded me of another trade that Miami made to the Pats.
Well, there's a long list of them, unfortunately. It's always crazy to me when these teams, and especially Miami, they've had a horrible history of doing this, not only to division rivals, but especially the Patriots. This screams resurgence to me. This is. I would not be surprised if Devontae goes there and completely rejuvenates his career, because that's literally what happens.
Next, Wes Welker.
Oh yeah, Wes Welker.
Calling it now.
Yeah, absolutely. And we couldn't even at the time. I mean, it's just crazy to me because any division, you see it all the time where they kind of avoid these trades.
Yep.
Within division and even conference sometimes, but. I don't know. I feel like this is going to be one of those, bite you in the butt later. Granted, he hasn't been performing. He's kind of had a rough start to his career for sure. But, man, this is what the Patriots thrive on. This is a Bill Belichick move right here for sure.
Yeah. I mean, the Patriots cannot draft wide receivers to save their lives, but for some reason they have a knack at trading for them and making them the best that they can be. Although I'm interested to see what they're going to do with their offense now that Josh McDaniels is gone. In fact, the question was asked to Belichick, who's going to be calling plays next season? And he said, we don't have to call plays till September. And that was his answer. So I don't know if that means he doesn't know or if he doesn't want to share. Probably that. He doesn't want to share, but I don't know. Seemed weird.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I mean,
you've been keeping up on this Dan Snyder situation?
Oh, my Lord. What a dumpster fire. Yeah, man. I mean, we've talked about it it's been going on for a long time, and we've talked about it as far back as I think the previous, under the previous banner for the podcast. Oh man, it just gets worse. I mean, I already thought it was terrible. I already thought, something needs done. And the more you hear about it, it just gets worse and worse and worse.
Yep.
I don't know, man. I think you alluded to it here. I think it'll be for the wrong reasons, but I think it might actually happen. I think he might actually get forced to sell.
Yeah. And just to rehash a little bit, there's the things that were alleged, and basically he got slapped on the wrist, but under his watch as owner of the team, there's been reported that there were cameras in the private area for the cheerleaders, so their locker rooms, wherever they do their practices, all that stuff. There was an alleged private room with a see-through floor where he and his buddies would hang out, and then they would have the leader of the cheerleaders have them walk over this room and hang out above that room with the see-through floor. It was one way, so they could see up, but cheerleaders couldn't see down. There were topless photo shoots that were occurring allegedly, and that's when John Gruden was sharing photos back and forth with Bruce Allen, who was the team president at the time. So the fact that Gruden is the only tree that fell in that whole investigation still baffles me. But the slap on the wrist that he got was he was told he was forced to give up control of the team to his wife. And so his wife has control of the team now, and you're telling me he's not having any say in what's going on?
Yeah, literally no change.
Yeah, no, it's okay, we're going to do something so we can say that we did something, but really no change at all. So, and Congress basically asked for documents, and NFL has yet to provide them. I think they were forced to give up the financial records, but haven't been forced to give up any of the investigations since there was nothing written down. So in this investigation, they found out that Dan Snyder was basically keeping two separate books for the financial records. And so he could say, like, to his investors, oh, we're doing great. But to the NFL, he was saying, how are we supposed to succeed in this crappy old rundown stadium? We can't sell tickets, revenues are down, whatever. So that is leading to the further investigation that maybe they'll have to give up the findings for the previous investigation. And then there was allegations that he was withholding opposing team ticket revenue, where in the NFL, they have to split it essentially 60-40. So the home team keeps 60%. The away team gets 40% of that. That's how they're sharing the revenue there. And he was apparently fudging the numbers in that too. So he has since denied that, but usually, like we say, when there's smoke, there's fire. So a lot of things going on, but I think the sad thing is, after all this stuff, the thing that's going to force him out as an owner is probably going to be the fact that he withheld opposing teams' revenue from the ticket sales.
Well, and that's it. That's the worst. I mean, so that's the worst way you could put it, but it's the truth. Is you look at everything you just covered, and none of the moral side of it is probably going to really carry much weight, as far as, yes, it's going to be part of it and discussed, but it's all going to come down to money.
Yep.
I mean, it's unfortunate, but
yeah, the other owners will deal with a lot, but they won't deal with you taking money from them. So, and like, quite honestly, it's not that much of a punishment for him, because he bought the team for $800 million back in, I don't know, I can't even remember what year. I want to say it was early 2000s. And now it's worth, I would guess, at least $2 billion, even with their rundown stadium and all that. So there's just so many billionaires out there that want to own an NFL team, and there's only 32 of them to go around. So ultimately it'll be worth whatever someone's willing to pay. And I think almost anyone would love to own an NFL franchise. So
Absolutely.
I don't know how much of a punishment that is, but at the end of the day, you can't really say, you own something, but you can't sell it either. So I don't know. It just seems like not much of a punishment to me. But anyway,
No.
here's a fun little question that you have. What's the one remaining move in free agency that you want your team to make in the NFL? I think our answer is going to be the same, but go ahead.
Yeah, I think. Well, I know it is. The easy one for me is obviously safety, just like you. The old honey badger, man. He's just one of those guys. He instantly makes any defense better. He had his visit with New Orleans, and we'll see what comes of that. He downplayed the hell out of it, but I mean, it's where he wants to end up playing, or at least has hinted at. I would say him or my number two would be if we can make some form of a wide receiver move. I think we may go heavy, maybe pick up 2 in the draft. I'm not sure, but I wouldn't mind seeing us pick up somebody because we technically lost 3 wide receivers this offseason. So, I would say either honey badger or wide receiver.
Yeah, as of this moment, I would say honey badger as well, or 1B would be Darrell Williams, just because I don't believe in Brandon Parker at right tackle, and I also don't believe in Alex Leatherwood at right tackle. So that's a huge hole in our team roster right now. But there's also been some rumors that we're going to trade up into the draft, so I don't know if that's giving away future draft picks to move up or if that's a player. There's been some rumblings that we potentially could be willing to trade Darren Waller, which I would hate.
Lord.
Obviously, he's coming off an off year, and the remaining salary on his contract, I think he has 2 years left, but none of it is guaranteed. So he just signed a new agent, and he's looking for an extension. So I could see, the motivation to trade him, but at the same time, if you have Devontae Adams, Darren Waller, Hunter Renfrow, Brian Edwards, Josh Jacobs, Kenyon Drake, like you have all those weapons, you can absorb an injury here and there and still have a great season. So you don't want to get rid of that.
Yeah, I mean that's a starting lineup that if things are clicking and you guys hit on all cylinders, I mean that's a scary offense. Yeah, especially if you do get the line figured out. If you could get Brandon Jacobs healthy and running good, mixed in with that pass game, I mean, I guess it's a business in the end. They're gonna field offers for anybody, but that'd be crazy to let Waller go.
Yeah, and I can see both sides of it because, like I said, he needs a new contract.
Oh, definitely.
He hired a new agent. He's also 30, so you don't see many teams giving out big contracts to players over 30. But I would just rather see them, maybe rip up his contract, give him a 3-year deal that gives him more money guaranteed and not cripple our franchise going forward. And then we can still do a Renfrow extension or whatever they have planned coming up soon. Obviously, we want to see what happens in the draft as well. But I would say, Darrell Williams, right tackle, 1B, and then 1A, honey badger, safety. So
see what happens.
For the draft, like I said, it really depends on if we trade up or not. I think if we could get Sauce Gardner, that would be fantastic, but that would probably take trading away multiple ones in the future.
Picks there.
So I don't see that happening. I would really like if we're going to draft at 3, 4, 5, and 6. I don't think we have a 7th. So I think we have 5 picks total, 2 in the 5th, if I remember right. If we're drafting in that range, I'd like to see a guard taken, an offensive guard, probably another linebacker, another safety. And, I mean, really, we don't need much more. So just depth probably, and then some offensive line. What about you?
I mean, I'm going to avoid the obvious. We're, in some way, shape, or form looking for probably a future quarterback. So I'm gonna skip that one because the Steelers aren't a team that's going to give up the future draft picks, so they're not going to move up from 20. I really doubt that they do. So
Desmond
that
Ritter.
being, maybe I would be okay with that, honestly.
I really think he's probably going to be the best out of all the
That's the way
quarterbacks.
he's starting to read to me. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But honestly, and it kind of ties into the other one, I would want to say wide receiver here outside of quarterback, which I do think we'll end up taking a few wide receivers maybe some flyers in the later rounds. I'm not sure. But I would love to, within the first 3 rounds, give a serious look at a defensive tackle. The only reason is Cam Hayward is getting up there, and not because I want to replace him tomorrow, but I would want the anchor of that defensive line to be able to be under Cam Hayward for a season or two. Because with that being said, TJ Watt is obviously a monster, reigning defensive player of the year, but he had Cam Hayward in the center of that line wreaking havoc. He wasn't always making the plays, but he is a monster in the middle of that line, and it opened up a lot of sacks for TJ Watt. So I would have to say defensive tackle. I mean, it just depends on what's available in those situations.
Jordan Davis.
And it's the name everybody keeps throwing out, but.
Well, I would love to see that just because Jordan Davis isn't an every down type player. I think he's played, probably 50 to 60% of Georgia snaps. And if you're phasing out a Cam Hayward, if you can get him off the field for X amount of snaps and keep him fresh, and then do the same with Jordan Davis, at least for a couple of years, that would benefit both of them. So that would be a huge pickup for you guys.
And I agree entirely. It's the one thing that's always bothered me. And if you look at teams that are consistently at the bottom versus teams that stay competitive, this is a big part of it. It's always that kind of drafting want and need.
Yep.
You have to be looking, a few seasons in advance, not for starters, but it means a lot for somebody to come underneath a guy like Cam Hayward and learn the ropes. It makes a big difference. So, that would be my dark horse is defensive tackle.
That's one thing I'm super excited about the Raiders for with this new front office is I was listening to Ziegler talk to the media, and he said, "Hey man, if we have everyone always says best player available at that position, but everyone has a different concept of what that is. What it means for me is if we have a guy rated high, even if we have 4 guys on the team that are already a strength, we can take that guy. And if that means shipping off one of the other guys,
absolutely,
or developing and replacing those guys eventually, whatever that does, I don't mind building upon an existing strength, and that has never been.
That's refreshing.
I mean, since Al Davis,
I know
we haven't done that. I mean, he's drafted speed, and then we've had Reggie McKenzie. He basically was handicapped by the cap, where he had to get all those contracts off. So he never was really dealing from any positions of strength. And then they bring Gruden on, and he, reached in every way he possibly could. Oh, we need a defensive tackle? Okay, we'll take this guy. But he shouldn't go for 2 more rounds. That's okay. He's our guy. We'll take him.
That's the guy we wanted.
So, yeah, that's the thing I'm super excited to see about this draft. Not to say they're going to knock it out of the park. I mean, this is their first draft.
It gives you optimism for sure, knowing that they're even willing to go that route. Because it's not always the pretty – I mean, you have fandom that is following this. So if, you need a quarterback or whatever, but you don't think the quarterbacks are up to that level and you take another player, some of the fandom is going to be pretty tore up about it. But as a front office, you got to be willing to make that move. So that's cool, and especially for you because Raiders have been
not
kind of repeating the same mistakes for
a
while.
Yep. Since I've been alive, at least.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, like I said, in terms of draft, basically, I think we just need depth at this point. So, hopefully, get a couple guys that can be starters eventually, if not right away, and hopefully, I really hope they trade up like into the second round, just because the draft's in Vegas. So
Yeah.
if the home team doesn't draft for the first two rounds, it's going to be pretty boring for the home crowd. But
It's kind of sad.
That's my only reasoning. But I don't have anyone in mind to take with that trade up. But anything else you wanted to say about the draft other than it's in Vegas and I really want to go?
I know. I wish I could. I actually looked up tickets. I've always wanted to attend a draft, and then when I seen this one, I was like, "Well, man, that ain't
Well,
too
hell,
far
let's
away."
go.
Yeah, they're about $1,200 a pop, which is
Oh, they're not.
the one I looked at was. I looked them up.
I'm pretty sure the draft is free.
I don't think so. I looked up. I don't know. I'll have to double check. I guess.
Let's look off air and then we come up with a
we'll
plan
have to
if it
check
is.
at it.
But I'm pretty sure all the draft stuff is free. Like you can bring kids. Like if you want to go into the thing, but most of it's going to be outside. So
that's true. I guess I was looking at like packages, so I'm sure.
yeah,
that's
we'll have to look and see if we can maybe plan something. But anyway, a story that I just wanted to say, just because it made me laugh, is Terrell Owens is coming out of retirement, not to play in the NFL as much as he would like to play in the NFL.
Not yet.
But yeah, I guess there was a story that said he would come back to play with the Chiefs. I don't know if the Chiefs have any interest in that, but he's coming back to play in the Fan-Controlled Football League, which, if none of you have heard about this, it's basically it's kind of like Madden with real people.
Yeah.
So the fans call the plays, and then the guys run it. Some of the guys that have been playing in this league, Johnny Manziel is probably the biggest name, but that's the team that T.O. is going to, is the team with Johnny Manziel, formerly Johnny Football.
The dynamic duo of Johnny Manziel and T.O.
I think it's going to be a pretty dynamic duo there. I mean, Johnny Manziel, I think he only plays like a half. He was on, I want to say he was on Bussin' with the Boys, and he was talking about this fan-controlled football league last year. And he basically said, yeah, I just go out there and play like a half. I do it for the fans. I have fun with it, but it's not something like I'm going to grind and to get my body ready and all that just to go out there and play. So he says he usually plays, I think, like I said, a half, and that's about it. So it's at least fun. It's a cool little concept, and I wish it was on more, available to see. But
right.
I think they put it up on YouTube or something like that. But it'll at least be entertaining to see T.O. back out there at 48. I know he's still in really good shape, so we'll see what they can do.
He's always been a freak as far as his physical being, but 48, that's something.
Yep. Almost to George Blanda's level.
Oh man, yeah. I had to laugh because relatively close here. T.O. obviously doing this, and then he did make the comment that he's NFL ready.
Yep.
For anybody that's willing. And then
Chiefs, go get your guy.
I know. And then within it was a couple weeks ago, AB came out and was upset over Tyreek's deal and Devontae's deal because he literally asked, "Why not me?"
Yep.
I'm gonna leave that there. I'm gonna let that. I'm gonna let that stew a little bit for anyone listening, but I think we all know why. Why not him? But
yeah,
I was just like, man, that's two guys. You could change your franchise.
Well, and I don't necessarily think he was saying like, I'm on this level, but he did say I can still get it done. I showed that I can still get it done, but no one wants to give me any guaranteed money. And it's like, well, I think there's a list about as long as you are tall as to why that
this is how
isn't
much
happening for you.
This is how much confidence I have in his contributions to a team.
Yeah.
I mean, it's whatever. At least T.O. could say that he's, had a career to be proud of. He obviously played extremely well. So
let me ask you a quick question.
I'm ready. Lay it on me.
What percentage would you say that AB's on a roster this upcoming season?
Honestly, if you'd asked me this a month or two ago, I'd have said no way in hell. But after seeing some of the moves these teams are willing to make nowadays,
Deshaun
why
Watson?
not?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big one that really changed my. I mean, that was a groundbreaking deal. I mean, that's going to change a lot of things moving forward. But just with that kind of stuff, and even some of the teams, I mean, the Commanders making a play for Wentz, I still don't think it makes a huge. I don't think it makes a lot of sense. But with that mindset, sure, why not? I could see.
So you're saying like a 50% chance?
Sure. I mean, all it's going to take is a team that's on the cusp. Say they overperform and got a shot at, I don't know, making the playoffs. They might stir things up and bring in somebody like that. Because, I mean, let's not get it twisted. Antonio Brown, had he kept his head out of his ass, could have been one of the all-time greats.
Yep.
I mean, the man was ridiculous in Pittsburgh.
I want to say he was on pace for Jerry Rice type.
He was
numbers with Pittsburgh.
When the Killer Bees were together, he was unreal. Just, I don't ever want to get that twisted. The man is talented. But he's just so toxic. I mean, I wouldn't obviously want him in my locker room, but it's a crazy league nowadays, man. It all comes down to putting people in the stands and making money. So
I'm trying to remember who the three were. It was Ben, AB, and
Le'Veon.
then Le'Veon Bell. Okay. I was thinking Boswell. I was like, did they put the kicker in there?
I always like to joke that he was the best Killer Bee.
Okay.
I love Boz. But no, sure, man. I mean, I would say 50%. It wouldn't even surprise me for a team to just take a flyer on him. But I don't know, man. You would have to have a hard ass of a coach, or I don't know, someone, because you're going to have to rein him in. I mean,
yeah.
I know we talked about it before, but Mike Tomlin deserves, I don't know, like some award.
He deserves a damn trophy
named in his honor for putting up with that nonsense.
The bullshit award goes to Mike Tomlin forever.
Yeah. No, 50%. Sure, why not?
Okay. All right.
What about you?
So, after what he pulled with the Bucks, I wanted to say 0, but I'm going to put it up to like 10. I think there's a very slight chance if there's an injury, leading up to the preseason or leading up to the season.
Right.
Maybe. See, and that's the thing. I don't think he'll just sign with any team. I think he thinks he should be on a playoff team. So I think there's him narrowing his opportunities, and then there's also teams willing to take a risk with him. And I don't know that there's going to be a match there, but I'll put it at 10% just because someone might be desperate.
Oh yeah, there's always somebody.
Okay, so a little feature we've done over the last few days. I'm sure some of our followers have seen it, but leading up to opening day, we've been posting a stadium per day that so far have been meaningful to us. First day I started, technically I started last week. I did it on Friday with Coors Field.
Yeah, Coors Field.
Just because that's the, closest stadium to most of our friends and family. Being in Wyoming, Coors Field's a quick drive away. Yeah. So that was a starting one. And then I went with the Oakland Coliseum second, just because obviously both of my favorite teams have played at least part of their franchise there. And then you went with Pittsburgh, obviously. PNC Park, one of the buttes in all the game. And then today we did San Diego, Petco Park, also a wonderful stadium in the lovely San Diego. So Any of you guys that want to feature want us to feature your favorite stadium, just comment on the posts and tell us which one, nominate your favorite, and we might feature it there. So
yeah, definitely. I was just going to say, I'll be dropping the next one tomorrow, obviously. And then please leave us a comment, leave us a stadium, give us your reason why, and we'll make you famous.
Beautiful. And then just a couple moves that have happened so far in Major League Baseball. One of the bigger trades that has happened this offseason, we won't talk about the A's because, they trade away everyone, and I hate my team right now. Just kidding. I love them. But Craig Campbell got traded from the Chicago White Sox to the Dodgers for A.J. Pollock. Dodgers had kind of a glut in the outfield, and Chicago had the best bullpen in the league. This trade made a ton of sense for both sides. I think Kimbrel had a $16 million salary hit, and A.J. Pollock's like around 10. So the Dodgers just took on an extra $6 million. No big deal. That's chump change for them. So that's only a fifth of our entire payroll at this point, $6 million.
Talk about that. This thing actually bummed me out. This deal bummed me out bad because I actually really like Kimbrel. I think he's fun to watch.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's got a fun release. I felt like he was a good fit in Chicago, so it was fun watching him with the White Sox, White Sox. And
well, I think the only reason they traded him is one, they needed an outfielder. So
and I get it. I totally get the trades. It's just I like Kimbrel and he's on the Dodgers. Like I don't know where else to go with it.
They have the raging Australian in Liam Hendricks, so they don't need another closer. And I'm sure those two being in the same bullpen, it was probably not ideal for either of them because they're both the closer. So
I just can't go for him now is my point.
Yeah, no, I get it.
I can't be in his corner.
I mean, see, in last year, I couldn't go for him either because the White Sox, Tony La Russa, not a big fan. So,
yeah.
Anyway.
Fair enough.
But it was one of those rare win-win, just straight up player-for-player trades. So I thought that one was interesting. This one really pissed me off. But the Angels decided to designate Justin Upton for assignment. For those of you that don't know what that means, they basically outright released him with the option for any teams to pick him up in waivers and absorb that contract. I'll give you a hint. No one's going to pick up that contract. He's got 1 year and $28 million left on that deal. So essentially, the Angels are going to be paying him $28 million this year to not play on their team. And after the A's trade of Manaea, that's it was two-thirds of the A's payroll. Now it's probably closer to 95% of the A's payroll and 3/4 of the Pirates payroll. So,
yay.
To not be on their team, to.
Yeah, that's what happens when your team spends money.
Oh, so another reason to laugh at / hate the Angels, and another reason they'll be
our own teams, whatever.
Yeah, it's just another example of the Angels not doing things right. Instead of picking up pitching for that $28 million, they could have handed that contract out to any pitcher, and they probably would have taken it. Instead, they were like,
you could have brought in a couple pitchers for that kind of money, man.
Instead, they were like, we already have Mike Trout. Sure, let's pick up Justin Upton too. But, whatever. Anthony Rendon, let's just pick them all up. But anyway, I don't care because they'll keep losing, and the A's will pay, a third of their payroll or less and still win as many games. It's fine.
True story.
A sad bit of news for the Mets, at least. Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer are both dealing with injuries. Both likely to miss opening day. deGrom, it sounds like he might even miss until like June. I think they put him on the 60-day DL. Scherzer, it sounds like he is more of a minor setback. He's planning on ramping back up for the start of the season. I don't think he'll be the opening day starter, which means Chris Bassett is probably your opening day starter for the New York Mets, which is great for him. And you may as well call them the A's East, because they have Starling Marte, they have Chris Bassett, and then they have Mark Canha, all in their starting roster. So
yeah, when I saw these two headlines come up on the ticker, I was like, man, I just got done talking about how unfair it was that you got to face both of these guys in one game potentially. But that sucks, man. This is they have such an awesome pitching staff that, I mean, just for the fun of it, I would have liked to have seen them at full power to kick off the season. Hopefully it's nothing too crazy and DeGrom can get back. It does definitely sound like Scherzer's, obviously
pretty much there.
A little less serious, but that's rough. Those two missing any games is obviously a big deal for them because they're amazing. So,
well, yeah, and DeGrom missed a good chunk of the season towards the end
part.
Last year. So, and he is the best pitcher in baseball right now. So, not having him out there to make his starts is not good for baseball. And obviously, if you enjoy watching pitching, I mean, that's the guy you want to watch. So,
for sure.
But I think that opens Chris Bassett's chance to win a Cy Young, maybe. We'll see.
I hope he kills it.
You got a couple notes in here for basketball.
Yep, I know that I'm not usually the basketball guy, but I'm so thrilled to hear that the Lakers were eliminated. Man, I don't know if it's just, your feed sometimes gets going in one direction on your social medias and things like that. And the only thing that I see anymore is about either LeBron being compared to the Michael, which is obviously an ongoing thing, but it's blowing up my phone, and then talking about this season and the statements LeBron's made about, keep watching our energy after it starts, and talking about getting in the playoffs and things like that. I mean, there's been a lot of arguments about it, but there's no other way of putting it. This is a failed super team.
Oh, for sure.
They tried piecing together, the next big thing, and it obviously did not work. Some of that's fit. I mean, I still don't think Westbrook's a fit there, but some of it is injury. I don't know. I don't like the injury part of it, because I don't think injury is ever an excuse in professional sports. It's not like every team hasn't dealt with it at some point. It's just part of the game. As far as the other side of it, I mean, I haven't followed enough to honestly weigh in too much on the picking games that they're talking about with LeBron. Sitting out on tougher opponents and chasing a scoring title and things like that. I'm not going to touch on any of that because I haven't watched enough, but I don't know. They built the team that I think he wanted, and it didn't work, and I love it.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's going to be wholesale changes there after this season. Obviously, they shipped out Caruso and Kuzma, and basically any talented younger player they had on their roster, they got rid of and brought in.
So good for the future.
Yeah. Brought in Carmelo, brought in Russell Westbrook, and quite frankly, it just hasn't worked at all this season. And
did you see the Kareem comments?
No.
So Kareem Abdul-Jabbar made some comments earlier this week, and I'm actually really bummed about what followed it. But all he said was that a lot of the things that LeBron has done or said are beneath him, and I didn't think that was necessarily an insult. It's just saying that he, do better, basically.
Yeah.
And I feel like he has the authority to weigh in, on the career that he has the authority to weigh in on present day players completely, in my opinion. And I agreed with everything he said in the statement, but I think it was today or yesterday. He came out and apologized for his statements, and that bugged me really bad, because I think someone like LeBron needs called on these sort of things a lot more. He does amazing things off the court. We've talked about it. I ain't never going to take away from that. The stuff he does for kids and, you know, paying for college, things like that. Like, he does some amazing things. I'm also not going to ever take anything away from him talent-wise. The guy is obviously amazing. He's one of the best players to ever play. That being said, his antics, I don't think he's a team player. I don't think he ever has been. That's the kind of stuff that I think Kareem was touching on, and it's absolutely true. So all that bundled up into one big pile, and I'm just super thrilled that the Lakers are eliminated, and I love that it was Phoenix.
Yeah.
Because they just, not only did they run their mouth about Phoenix last season because of how that went going into the playoffs, but they also made the same comments about Golden State.
Yep.
Missing the
and that's
playoffs.
Why I was hoping it would be the Warriors that knocked him off.
So I'm just like, all right, this is just desserts. This is justice. This is everything's right in the world.
And the funniest thing about that is I've got an uncle that lives in LA, and he's a huge Lakers fan. And the Lakers beat the Warriors once earlier this season. I think Draymond was out, and he was like, Lakers, and then did the whole flip off emoji for the Warriors. And so I went back to that post. I think it was on March 5th or something like that. Went back and did the eyeball emoji, and then I did the ice cold take emoji.
I love it.
And just left it at that. And he said, don't get me started. But anyway, yeah, it was a major failure on the part of the front office and the players. And like I said, I think coach is going to be gone. I think possibly the GM will be gone. And there's even been some rumblings that LeBron might be the one traded out of there. So
it's going to be weird because, I mean, you're talking about the Lakers here. Like,
yeah,
this is going to be, I don't want to say uncharted territory. They've had down seasons and down years before, but for them to completely clean house and basically start over is going to be pretty wild.
Yep. So. Well, and the funny thing was, I don't know how it got brought up, but essentially someone asked LeBron who he would want to play with in the NBA right now, and he said Steph. Well, then a reporter caught wind of that and asked Steph the same question, or they said to Steph, hey, LeBron said that you were the one player that he would want to play with right now. What do you think about that? And he basically said, I'm not interested in that. So I don't know if he was saying I'm not interested in that because they're in the middle of a playoff run and he doesn't want to talk about off-season stuff, or if he really doesn't want to play with LeBron, but kind of seemed like a slap in the face at that point. And I don't know. I didn't see the interview. I just read about it, so I don't know if that's exactly what was said, if it was taken out of context or anything like that. But very interesting.
Some of the on-court antics between Steph and LeBron over the years just makes me feel like I think he's 100% honest with his reaction.
Yeah,
I just think they're two very, very, very different types of players, and I can't mean that any more as a compliment to Steph Curry than I can possibly make anyone understand.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's it. Steph's the kind of guy you want on your team. Even like we talked, he may still play from the bench for years. Once he's, not the player he is now, he's the kind of player you want on a squad. I don't know that I would want LeBron. Sure, was there a time when any team would have taken him, earlier in his career? I don't know if that's the case anymore. And obviously, Golden State's probably one of those teams that, maybe a hard pass.
Yeah. We'll see. I think it'd be really tough for me to want to have him on our team. So I don't at the end of the day, I'm going to root for the Warriors, no matter who's on the team, but I don't know if I'm going to like it if he would be on there. So let's move on to real quick. Best of and worst of the week. What do you got for this week?
Oh man.
You want me to go first?
Yeah,
I really want to go.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Let it rip.
Best of the week. Baseball is back. Baseball is back
Go.
on Friday, opening day. I'll be watching my A's take on the Philadelphia Phillies. So hoping for a good season. My hot take was the A's are going to be under 500, which is probably 10 more wins than they're projected to get. So hoping for a good season. We'll see what happens, but that's my best.
For my best, actually, it's kind of a continuation of a previous one, but I don't know if you saw some of, and obviously I'm very biased here, but if you saw some of Mike Tomlin's statements about we just hired him, defensive assistant. Jeez. Flores.
There we go.
Some of his statement, and this, like, I knew this was the case, obviously, that he wanted to get him involved and be a supporter of him, but his statements were absolutely wonderful. That he just said that when all this started, he wanted to make sure that he had someone basically in his corner, someone to talk to. And that led to them, Flores asking his advice on what he thought and things like that. And it slowly turned into a job offer. And after hearing that dialogue and things like that, just kudos to Tomlin. He's got a lot of critics out there, even within his own city, but I love the dude. I think he's absolutely wonderful. And at the end of the day, he is who he is, and he's good with it either way.
Yep.
I'm excited. I think Flores is going to be a big addition to that front. Well, to that coaching staff. Period.
That was the steal of the offseason for sure.
Well, and I'll kick off worst of the week because I still do not understand what Miami was doing. And for Miami to show him the door and then make all these moves that they have, I feel like it's even worse because it's like, okay, you gave us 2 winning seasons. See you later. And now we're going to build the team.
Yep.
It's unreal to me. I still can't. So,
yeah, if that doesn't tell you that they were tanking.
I'm seriously, man.
Trying to tank, I guess.
I don't know. So, yeah, I think it'll be a much better. I think it'll lead to another position down the road. Say, honestly, and this is me speculating. I don't know how much traction it has, but say Tomlin does hang it up in the next handful of years. I would love for Flores to come in and maybe get a chance at putting his head in there or putting his hat in there. So that's my best and worst.
Okay. My worst of the week is after 24 years, the big bad green truck finally died.
That made me sad.
Very sad, but we can rebuild it. We have the technology, so
true story.
Eventually, that baby will be shining and looking brand new. Just not right now. So sad about that, but obviously hopeful that eventually we can fix her up, and that'll be my classic daily driver.
Oh man, hopefully it lives again.
Yep. So with that being said, I think that's all I had. Anything else from you, Kyle?
Just please get involved with our baseball park, whatever the hell we're doing. We're having a good time with it. We're ready for baseball to start.
Yes, we
send
are.
us in your favorite stadium. We'd be more than happy to put up your comments about it. And just thanks for listening.
All right. That being said, thank you guys for tuning in. Bab, thanks for the Go A's and the condolences for the truck. And we will catch you guys next time.